So as many of you guys know, Activision just unveiled details and officially revealed their new Call of Duty game, Call of Duty World War II. They did it at a private live streamed event in London because that makes sense. And it was pretty decent in general. The entire stream was incredibly cringy, highly scripted, but it's in that weird scripted way where you can't tell if they meant it to be scripted or not. So they have somebody come on stage who's you think is like an actual person that's going to talk genuinely and from the heart, and then he reveals and keeps talking in these really scripted dialogue. It was a little cringy at times, but they got their message across, which is that this is aimed at being a return to form, a back to the basics, or barracks. No, well, pun intended. I'm not going to pretend like that wasn't intended. But they're really trying to go back to what made the original Call of Duty successful, fun, interesting, whatever. And they did show off a trailer, actually, of the game, which you're seeing right now. And in general, it looks pretty good. They're obviously competing with Battlefield 1 and Battlefield in general, as they have been for many years. But I do want to establish something, because we are throwing information out. Some people were saying that this is a direct response to Battlefield 1. That's not completely fair. Mainly because Battlefield 1 was officially revealed through a gameplay trailer on May 6th of 2016 rather, and then it launched in October, I believe. And this game will have been in development for over 3 years by the time that it is officially launched on November 3rd. So they were working on this well before Battlefield 1 had any sort of success. So you can't say that it's a direct response. Now, obviously, this is their attempt to combat, no pun intended that time. There's a lot of puns around Call of Duty, let's be honest. But in general, this is their response to Battlefield 1 and their increasing success and slow capture of the market. Call of Duty still runs it and rules the market, but they are being challenged a little bit, and this is their answer to it. Now, throughout the entire live stream, which lasted about an hour, and I'm going to try to really concisely shrink it up and explain what it was all about, they said that their main goal in the single-player narrative was to tell a story of brotherhood, of friendship, of like building a relationship between these people and then kind of tearing them down, I'm assuming, by the end of the game to make you see how horrible war actually is. And that's not a bad idea. Personally, I'm okay with it because the war really was a horrible, horrible thing. And you were standing around people that you had spent days, weeks, months, years with, or sometimes even you were friends with for a while before the war, even in rare instances. And you were watching them get their heads blown open by artillery or by some guy that got a lucky shot. And it was a very emotional time and a very rough thing, and you became very hardened as a result of it. Just speak to any surviving participant of the war, regardless of which army they fought with. They can tell you it hardened you, and they rarely talk about those details because they tend to be so horrible. And so this gives them a chance to really delve into that and show what the war was like on modern consoles, on modern hardware. It really does look like it's something that could stand to be very, very impressive. Now, the other thing that I really liked about this live stream and this trailer specifically is that they clarified at the beginning of it that this was in-game footage. So they're not doing the whole cinematic trailer crap that a lot of game devs have been doing recently, where they show you some long-form, carefully crafted, scripted video where every frame was rendered and took 45 minutes on a $10,000 server to render. No, they're showing you what it will look like when you play it, which I can really, really appreciate, because I think cinematic trailers are a thing of the past. I don't care. Get rid of them. Show me what the game is going to look like. Now, the other thing, the name, I'll just throw this out there. The name, when I first saw the leaks that came out, and said that like they were going to friggin' go and name the game Call of Duty World War II. I said at the time, and you can go back and verify this, I said this had better not be true. It can't be, because World War II is such a terrible subtitle. There's no way their marketing team would do that. But sure enough, they did, and it is called Call of Duty World War II. And the reason I thought that it was a horrible name was simply because it just is a bad name. I don't know. Maybe I'm alone in that regard. I think calling it like Call of Duty, the Western Front or whatever, something like that, or Call of Duty Brotherhoods. I mean, anything, fraternity, anything. They're talking about that. All of that could work, but World War II I find to be a little cringeworthy, but that's just me. As for the single player campaign, that's what I'm talking about mostly, not only because I mainly care about the single player campaign, I'm not a big multiplayer guy, but also because they haven't unveiled much about multiplayer. That's going to be what they do at E3 this year. They're going to be showing off mainly multiplayer stuff at E3. Single player stuff they'll leave a little more under wraps. But with the single player, one thing we do know is that you're going to be playing as a private Daniels for the majority of the game. But there will also be missions where you play as other people. One mission in particular where you will play as a woman in the French Resistance. At least one mission that we know of that will do that. Now, that's probably them paying homage to the Anita Sarkeesians in this industry, to the Neil Druckmanns who really push for women to be involved in any aspect of the game. I have no problem with it, to be honest. If it comes out and like, all of a sudden you're like raiding or storming the beach on D-Day, and you look to your right and there's just like a perfectly ethnically diverse field of like transgendered women and men, and then there's a certain number of women over there. It's like that is so blatantly anti-historical that I would have a problem with that. But there were women that fought in the French Resistance. They were actually very useful. Because a lot of men were enlisted elsewhere, and of course they would draw less attention. So it actually does have historical backing. So some people were getting freaked out that there were going to be women playable in the campaign. I have no problem with it, at least as of right now. I'm going to play the game, or at least see reviews of the game, and then I'll speak to it. But as of right now, I see no issue with it whatsoever. That's just me, though. Maybe you do. I don't know. And I'll knock this last thing out because I think everybody is thinking about it, and it's something that a lot of people have weirdly been discussing as an important potential feature, I suppose. And that is that you will somehow get to deal with Hitler in this game. That's how I know a lot of people don't like, a lot of these gamers have no education or whatever in World War II. If they're going to try to make it historically accurate, which they claim is their primary goal, because that's how they respect the people who died, which millions upon millions of people died in the war. So I think it's a good idea to be respectful and be historically accurate on all accounts. But Hitler, I mean, I'm not even going to really get into the Hitler escaped to Argentina and then he went on the run, died like whatever it is, 18 months later after having a child, whatever the newest theory is. The established history is that Adolf Hitler shot himself with Eva Braun in the bunker, in the Führer bunker. And that was because the Russians were coming in and were about to storm not only the chancellery, but they were also basically completely surrounding Berlin. And he was going to be strung up like Mussolini, who he had said he had multiple times he didn't want to end up like that Italian dictator. So he took the easy way out, at least according to the major or established historical record. For you to play and interact with Hitler in any way, you would either have to play as a German, like a German bodyguard or something, or maybe you get a mission where you participate in Operation Valkyrie. That could be really cool, but as of right now, there's no mention of that. It could be a surprise in the single player campaign. You never know. But if you got the chance to pull a Tom Cruise and go and try to kill Hitler, that could be really, really cool. I agree. It's not clear how they'll deal with this, though, if you will actually get to go and play and bounce around all different areas of the war and do that, kind of like what Battlefield 1 did with their campaign. Mainly, it sounds right now like they're focusing on Private Daniels. Primarily, that's who they're focusing on, where you're going to storm the beach on D-Day, and then you're going to go and you're going to fight through Belgium and France and all of that. And that sounds fine. I'm perfectly okay with that. But a lot of people are saying that they need Hitler in the game in order for it to be a complete World War II package. That just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Either you play as a German or as some sort of, like I said, Operation Valkyrie, or you would play as a Russian soldier who is storming Berlin, and then you happen upon his burnt corpse in a ditch outside of the Führer bunker. And that wouldn't exactly be, I think, what people are looking for. That's a side note, and I'm sorry for getting distracted on it, but a surprising number of people are addressing it and saying that they need Hitler in the game in order to play it. I play Sniper Elite 4 if you want to shoot Hitler. This is probably not the game where you're going to get to do that. Maybe Battlefield will come out with Battlefield 2, whatever, and you'll get to play Operation Valkyrie. That could be really cool. But we'll just have to wait and see. Overall, so far right now, with it currently as of the time of this recording, it looks like it is 6 months and 8 days out, if I'm doing that correctly. From today, as of recording, that's when we will get Call of Duty World War II. And for being 6 months out, I'm relatively hyped. I think there's definitely potential here. It's certainly better than Infinite Warfare or anything they've done in current years past. I'm really, really excited to see what they do with it. It has potential, but that doesn't mean that they are immune to screwing it up.